You are listening to the Will Power Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to reveal the secrets that have led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you say your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Willpower Podcast. How's it going, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today, I am sitting down for an in-person interview with an 8-figure real estate investor, Shane Seo. And before Shane got to where he is today, he actually had a very humble beginning. He grew up in a trailer. And fast forward to today, he's an 8-figure real estate investor and the CEO and founder of the Seo Capital Group. And on top of that, he's connected with some of the most influential real estate figures out there, such as Grant Cardone, Tai Lopez, and many others. So that being said, first and foremost, Shane, thank you so much for being here today.
Man, thanks for having me. Very fun.
My pleasure. I love everything you're doing, and obviously you're big into creative financing and real estate investing, so I think your story is really going to resonate with my audience here today. Starting out, though, I want to ask you a question I ask all of my guests, which is one, what makes you want to take time out of your day to hop on podcasts like these to really go out there and share your story?
Well, to be honest, I don't really want to. I'm more of an introverted guy. I'm really more of a brain, so I'm usually behind the scenes. But like you said, the mentors that I have, Grant Cardone, Tai Lopez, all of them said the same thing, is I need to get out of my comfort zone, and make sure to put myself out there, because the more people I meet, the more opportunities that come. And honestly, since I've been doing it now, I'm really enjoying it. It's just I always get nervous on these things. I'm so new. But I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, you look like a natural already, so that's good. I'm sure a lot of people are learning just a ton about you as well, just following your story and seeing what you guys are doing. So as I mentioned earlier, obviously you grew up in a trailer, and so walk me through what that childhood was like, and really what the main takeaways and lessons you've had from that childhood you took with you into where you are today.
Yeah, so my dad is I'm half Korean. So my dad came to America with $200 in a suitcase, and he didn't speak English. And then, my mom, she was just a country girl from Georgia.
Yeah.
So, of course, they met, had me. Of course, my dad, he taught, as funny as it sounds, stereotypical Asians all do martial arts. Well, he did martial arts. So he was just a karate school teacher, and he did the best he could. But of course, when I was younger, we were in a little mobile home park, little trailer, and that's where we grew up. And then as I got 5, 6 years old, he finally bought a small little home, a 1,200 square foot home. And to me, I think, wow, this is the most amazing thing. So I think coming from humble beginnings, I got to see how important family is. We were really close. Even right now, even my brother and me, we're like best friends. My mom and dad, we're all very close. We're always helping each other. And I guess just, I never forget for where I come from.
Yeah.
One person wrote me yesterday and said, Shane, how do you, kind of stay grounded? Because I guess they imagine me just being like, woo, but it's not like that. I think I like to, I know where I came from. I'm just a Southern country guy too, from Georgia, if you think about it. And I guess, if you don't forget where you come from, and then also I mixed that with missionary trips as I was younger, I got to see a different perspective of true poverty. So I feel like it's kind of kept me grounded. So I guess staying true to myself.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really an inspiring story too. And what's interesting, obviously, we were talking earlier, I've interviewed over 200 entrepreneurs, and
it's amazing.
Most of them have grown up in very poverty conditions. And it's interesting to see how people who have their backs against the wall are really the ones that can make the most impact and have the most success in their lifetime going forward. I think you're a true testament to that, just in your own story, which is very cool to see.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I think actually funny enough, the person we talked to yesterday, she was a young girl from Africa. Wow. And she grew up sleeping on the ground, like on the dirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Getting bit by bugs and all that stuff. And then now she's very successful. So I think that coming from poverty, number one, you have a survivor mindset.
Yeah.
So you have these things, I've got to survive. Number two, you can't just wait. You got to have a sense of urgency. So it makes me take action. So one thing I think is really good that I learned from my dad is you can do things with blind confidence. Even though you've never done it, you just do it, and you'll just figure it out as you go and have the confidence that you can figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the thing too that a lot of them successful guys
Right.
had. Yeah.
You got to be able to take a risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so looking back on your childhood, I mean, do you truly think you'd be where you are today if you grew up in better conditions or different conditions?
No. Well, I mean, that's a tough one to answer. Yeah, I don't know. Because I would like to say yes, but my dad's from Korea, so he wanted me just to be a doctor, lawyer. You know, Koreans are very much like, you be doctor, you be lawyer. So that's what I was really wanting to do.
Yeah.
Actually, a month from graduating to get my associates, I stood up and left college. I'm probably disappointed my dad, you know. So
wow.
I think honestly I was just in the right place at the right time. I ended up at 22 starting martial arts schools, so I was just following the steps of my dad because I admired him and my older brother. They were very successful with the Taekwondo schools.
Yeah.
And then one day I walked out of my Taekwondo school, and this guy pulled up with, you know, him and his wife had matching cars. His hair was slicked back, you know, and I was like, man, this guy's rich. I said, what do you do? And he said real estate. So I think it's just from that one pivotal moment that changed my life. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's just the right place, right time, and who you was associating with at that time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it sounds like you had the entrepreneurial bug growing up, obviously, starting out with martial arts and then seeing that guy pull up to your gym. That made all the difference, you know, and sometimes you got to be lucky in finding, being in the right place at the right time. It sounds like seeing that person at that time, at that place, just completely changed your life.
It did, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so after you met that individual that said he was in real estate, I know you took him out to lunch. I heard you say that before.
Mm-hmm.
So after you had that conversation, did you decide right then and there, like, you know what, I'm switching everything I know. I'm going into real estate. I'm starting over. I'm going to build up in real estate.
You know, he told me that we got to go to lunch, and I was like, okay, I'll take you to lunch. And he talked to me about what he did, and honestly, he ghosted me after that. So I never heard from him again. But at least he planted a seed. He don't know it. I can't even find him now. I did reach out to him. I sent him text because I still got his phone number. I sent him an email, just say, hey, sir, how you doing? He just won't respond to me. I don't know what happened. But I know maybe there's some family issues or whatever. But no, for 5 years, I tried to do real estate and just couldn't get it. So I was watching YouTube. And honestly, like I said earlier, I'm an introverted person. I'm not like you and Peter. I didn't go out and like find the mentors that I should. Now I do. I found out the importance of mentors. But I was just watching YouTube videos, just trying to figure it out. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned for 5 years, if you were trying to get your foot into the door of real estate. Well, it's interesting. I think a lot of people out there, they understand the power behind real estate and that it's a great way to build wealth as well as get financial freedom. But it's really hard for them to take that first step. So walk me through kind of those 5 years. What were the issues for you? What kind of prevented you from just really closing your first property and getting that done?
So number one, what that guy had told me was very traditional, by the way, nothing creative. He was like, you just need to, you know, have 20%, find the property, talk to a realtor, get it under contract, close. So I followed that. I got 33 properties under contract in those 5 years, by the way. Wow. It's just during the due diligence period, you know, I'd call and cancel. I was just nervous. So I think his number was fear.
Yeah.
I talked to the banks, but I just felt like it was very intimidating. I was just so afraid, to be honest with you. I kind of was shaking going in there. And also, I'm an introvert anyway, so to ask for money from the bank was even terrifying at that time. So the best thing to do was just to, I guess, like, I don't know a good word to say, but just like kind of like fear out and just cancel. So I just called the realtor and said, hey, man, look, I've decided not to move forward, cancel the contract. Or I'd probably just text them, you know. So I probably made every realtor really upset. Right. So, but definitely fear, lack of knowledge, not knowing how to, not understanding enough. So I guess the lack of knowledge when I was talking to the bank. And I was just worried that if I put my money out, I was going to lose it. So just a lot of fear and lack of knowledge. No mentor.
And that to me is so inspiring because fast forward today, you guys have over 400 properties, right, with your company, which
crazy,
which is amazing to think about. And for 5 years, it was too scary to close on one property, right?
Yeah, it's wild.
And so that to me should be really encouraging for people listening to this episode, is that you can still do it even if there is fear, right? You have time to do it.
100%.
So walk me through, how did you overcome that fear, and what was it like closing on that very first property 5 years later?
I'd love to say it was a sense of bravery or knowledge, but it really wasn't. It was a month before 30. So like I said, I started at 25 wanting to do it. I was a month from 30, so it was coming onto that 5th year. And there was a young boy. Funny enough, he just called me before this podcast. And I reached out to him and said, hey, get this property under contract. And we got it under contract for 45 grand. I said, man, get it under contract. And he got it under contract for me.
Wow.
And then I did like I always did. I called him, hey man, cancel it. And he was a 20-year-old boy. Okay, he had just got his real estate license. I don't know if he had ever done any, like gotten any commission.
Yeah.
And he probably thought I had more money than what I did, because I was just a Christ school teacher. But in his eyes, I was like, oh, Mr. Shane, you know?
Right.
But basically, when I called him to cancel, he said, Shane, do it. Push it. He just pushed me.
Yeah.
And long story short, I said, oh, okay, hold on. So I called a friend named Zoran, which his mom named him after a 007 character, by the way. And he's
Nice.
a good friend with me still to today also. But I called him and said, Zoran, it's a $45,000 home. You put the money, I'll do the repairs, and let's split 50-50. So long story short, we actually closed. I actually went along with it, used my buddy's money, 45 grand. I used credit cards to do all the repairs and maintenance and remodel. And that's how I did my first deal. So it was really not because I was brave or anything. It's because a little 20-year-old guy pushed me to do it.
Yep. And that got you started down.
That's what got me. Crazy, huh?
Crazy how things work out.
It's wild. Yeah.
It really is. And so now you guys structure your business really around creative financing and lease options, right? Which I think is very unique. And a lot of people don't understand how that process works. People looking at real estate industry, they want to get investing. They really do it the traditional way, 20% down for investment property or a normal property. And then they just go from there, get money from a bank, right? So high level overview, can you just explain real quick how creative financing works on properties?
All right. So creative financing would be this. Instead of talking to a realtor, I guess you can use a realtor, but usually, if you talk to a seller and they own a home, instead of putting 20% down, getting your credit ran, proving all these documents to the bank and 2 years tax returns and all of that, you're asking the seller to be the bank instead. So they're protected just like the bank would be, and then we just pay them monthly instead. That's basically it. We're just paying them monthly.
Gotcha.
Very easy.
Yeah. And so after you learned about creative financing and seller financing, how long did it take you to get your first deal where you actually structured it in that format?
Okay, so I guess I'll go back to my regular story. So during that time on my first home that I borrowed money from a friend, it took me 8 months to do the fix and flip.
Oh wow.
Okay, now if you've heard anything about real estate, that's really awful. Usually it's like, take a month or two to get it fixed, they list it, and you sell it 3-4 months later. Max maybe 6 months, right? Yeah. It took me 8 months. Number one, the contractor bailed on me. I was terrified the whole time. So I'm going to lose my friend's money. I'm going to be in debt on my credit card. I don't know what I went through all this stress. Kind of within the 5th, 6th month of going through that stress, I saw a YouTube video of this old man who said, buy with creative financing. Don't talk to realtors. Talk straight to the seller and buy with seller financing, and you lease option it basically, right? So I was like, man, that is a really neat idea. And you don't really need to use any of your money. It doesn't mean the seller doesn't get money up front, by the way, but it means that you come no money out of pocket. You're just kind of playing in the middle. And that was fascinating to me. Yeah. So then we closed on the house. I sold the home. We actually made money. I made 20 grand on that fix and flip. And that took 8 months. Within the next 5 months, I got 60 single family homes. So yeah, it's kind of, so it took me 5 years to get my first deal, and then 5 months to get 60 homes.
Oh my gosh.
So I think I just needed to get past the fear, and number two, I needed the knowledge. And that old guy, I can't find him on YouTube, but technically he's my first mentor if you think about it, because he explained some things and some things clicked. It was that really special moment for me. Yeah. And I just followed what he said. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think people listening to this are just absolutely blown away right now. Mainly because of the fact where you can get 60 homes in 5 months using creative financing.
It's wild. Yeah, and it goes back to the poverty mindset that you was mentioning. You got to have a sense of urgency. You got to have a survival mindset. And what that young girl yesterday also said that I always say is obsessed. You have to be obsessed in what you're doing. Even Grant Cardone says you have to be obsessed or be average. So I just got obsessed over it. So every night I'm looking at properties. I'm talking to them during the day. I'm doing in-house presentations with the sellers, and I just went wild on it, honestly.
I mean, that is so incredible just to hear you. I mean, that's literally doing 12 homes a month for 5 months. So
yeah, it's wild.
That is really incredible. So walk me through, I mean, what that time period was like. Like you said, I know it's a mindset shift, and a lot of times, a lot of people have, one of their objections is that they don't have enough money to get into real estate. And what you're talking about is you don't need money down to do these kinds of deals. which completely takes away any objections that they can have going into real estate and doing this methodology. So walk me through those 5 months. What was that like? How busy was it? I mean, were you talking to sellers every single day?
Every day, almost every day. Yeah. And so here's the thing is, now I told you it took me 5 years to get my first deal, but I did get 30 something homes under contract, right?
Right.
So even though I didn't succeed and get a property, I wasn't afraid to get it under contract because I knew I had a time period before I had to close. I knew that I was responsible for a certain period.
Yeah.
So when this older gentleman said, when you talk to a seller, and that's what I did, so I started calling a bunch of sellers, I knew that if I talked to them, even if they didn't agree to terms with me, even if they gave me a ridiculous price that it wouldn't work, I still left with a contract. I made a point to always leave with a contract. Now, would I always fulfill them? No, because I wasn't afraid to cancel them, right? But basically, when I would sit down, I'd get it under contract. Let's just say that I did talk to someone. And let's say I'm talking to you and you say you want $100,000 for your home, okay? And I said, well, look, I like to pay you monthly, and here's the terms for seller finance. And we can talk more about terms later if you want to too. But basically, I would say, I'll give you, let's just say $5,000 down, $1,000 a month until paid off, you know, and we'll close in 30 days. And you say, okay, now I have 30 days. Now, if I say I'm giving you $5,000 down, what if I don't have $5,000? You see? So during those 30 days, I would find someone else and say, look, I'll sell it to you for $150,000. Will you give me $20,000 down, and I'll lease it to you for $1,500 a month until you cash me out with a loan later.
Yeah.
So I knew that while I'm under contract, I owe nothing. This person's willing to give me 20. When they give me the 20, right, I would then close, use that to pay the closing costs and pay the seller his $5,000.
Yeah.
So I'd make 14 or 15, you know. Then every month, the tenant person would pay me $1,500 and I'd pay the seller $1,000.
So your cash flow.
So then I'm cash flowing.
Yeah.
And I also will have a in cash at the end. So there's 3 profits. Upfront money, like I said, would be that 14, 15, $500 a month cash flow, and at the end, I have a $50,000-$60,000 spread for when they cash me out.
Yeah.
You see, so that's the things that I was like, man, that is awesome. I get paid 3 times, and it's easy to get addicted.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So you came to my free event, and my hope is to help people get first, second, third property, and then it gets addicted, and you'll find how easy it is to scale. It's the easiest thing to scale when you use seller financing.
It's really an amazing business model. I think people listening to this are going to have one real question, or a lot of questions obviously, but one of them being, why in the world would a seller agree to those kinds of terms where they're only doing a $5,000 down payment, $1,000 a month, principal only probably payment along those lines until you pay off the full amount? So why would they agree to that as a seller?
It's amazing. So I'll tell you one we did maybe 2-3 weeks ago is a guy is 0 money down, by the way, $700 principal only payments, and for $166,000. That's
crazy.
One of our team guys got it. And we dispoed it for $30,000 down and $1,420 a month, and they bought it for $230,000. So that's the spread on. But why would the seller do that? His was, I think he inherited the home, I believe. Yeah. He tried to rent it out, and he didn't like being a landlord. And he just he tried to sell it, and no one's biting because he's wanting too much than what it is. And he's not a professional in this. So that was his case. And to him, he was like, you know what? I don't want it to be empty. What if a pipe busts? Then I got to pay for it. There could be squatters. I don't want to deal with tenants anyway, because sometimes tenants can not be the most fun to deal with. We call them clients actually because we treat them with as much respect. But most people like them darn tenants, Yeah. So that was his specific reason. Okay. But I mean, it happens all the way even to multifamily. My first apartment complex was 44 units, 0 money down, which is crazy. And to me, even me, when I went to talk to the people, I was like, why would they give me this property when they're making 18 grand a month and I'm here saying I'll give you 12,500 a month? Right. Why would they accept that? Yeah. But really what it was is it was 3 brothers. One was 50s, one was in the 60s, one was in the 70s. The one in the 70s does all the repairs and maintenance, and he's out there all day, every day in the hot, just taking care of the property. The middle brother's doing businesses, but he's not really in the real estate game. He's in the business game.
Yeah.
And the younger brother, he just fishes and stuff. So they just want it out on. And honestly, people get into real estate saying they want passive income. They find out it's semi-passive or completely active. It's not as passive as they thought.
Right.
So that's why we're the solution version. They still get to get passive income. Like if I'm paying the month, they get to treat that like a new income every month.
Yeah.
They don't have to deal with the property because we're handling all the repairs, maintenance, tax, insurance, and liabilities. Mm-hmm. So that's why they would do it. I mean, what I'm saying is it's case by case, but those are just two examples.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's situational.
Situational.
What's going on. What I've learned so far in my entrepreneurship journey is that life is all about timing. So
it is.
Situations change all the time, and the right moment can be now or next month or even a year from now. So you just gotta
100%, man. How old are you again?
22.
Yeah, that's just amazing. You're even talking like that at 22. Like I was 30 when I got started. So you're beating me.
I don't know.
That's an annoying thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Just trying to be like you one day,
That's amazing.
Yeah. So after those first 5 months where you got 60 homes, I mean, you must be going absolutely crazy. Like this can work, this can scale. Mm-hmm. When did you decide after that to really go out there and structure this as like a business and start building up a team around you so you can actually scale it to where you are today?
So I actually didn't hire a team until last year in October. So I did all that by myself as far as acquisitions and dispositions.
Awesome.
And now, there is one guy that I brought on that he tried to do some calls to source, and then I would go and do the appointments. But, really and truly, I guess because this is the poor mindset. I feel like I should do everything, because we did 60 the first year. I did 180 the second year. Out of the 180, though, to be honest, is 90 of those properties, 92, were bought from one owner.
Wow.
And that was the next thing that hit me too. So I didn't have to I realized you don't have to have much of a team to just scale, amazingly enough.
Yeah.
But to buy 90 homes or 92 homes, took just as much time to buy that one as it does to buy one. So then I started changing to talk to landlords,
Yeah.
But now as far as team that you do need to have, good property management comes. So I built my own team. We have a lady down south. We have some maintenance guys, some lawn guys, and but they aren't helping with acquisitions and dispos, but they're keeping and maintaining the properties and checking things, collecting things.
Yeah.
And up north, we did the same thing. So that's about the team that you really want to have. Now that I do have a team, because it's been like 5-6 years now at that time, because now I'm on year 7. Last year in October, I hired Colin, Tim, David. I got Austin behind the camera there. But
a great crew.
Yeah, they've come on, and just since they came in October, we bought almost $18 million worth of property.
That's incredible.
Which to me is just cool. And they're young guys like you. I just can't believe it. Young people.
Yeah.
You're dominating. And so that's the first time I brought on the team.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's cool to see how you transition from just you to, like you said, expanding a team, and you bring on young people who are absolutely crushing it. And
amazing. Yeah.
One of the things I'm noticing about our society even today, if you're a young person out there and you have a work ethic, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are soft nowadays. Like you can go out there and just crush it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people. There's not as much competition if you just go out there and put your head to it.
That's right. And honestly, young people, and I'm young too. I'm going to say
you
I'm
are young.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm young. But what's crazy is because I'm 37 now. But I didn't have Facebook when I was like young. And Facebook didn't have like marketplace anymore. When I was 20, I think I was 20 when Facebook came out, or 19. I remember when it came out, but it was nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
You can find deals off Facebook.
Right.
You got, I had MySpace too, but MySpace, you ain't doing no deals on that. But I mean, you have access to everything on your cell phone, iPad. Look at this thing, man. We didn't have that when I was 20. So you'll have access to everything. Yeah. And I think young people, most of the young people that I know that are very successful, it's just, they know how to use all technology, and they know how to, look at you. I mean, look at that. That's
the note taking.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's remarkable though, like what you can do with the technology out there. You know how to use it. You put your mind to the right things, and you can grow and create connections. Like this came from social media.
That's right. That's right.
So it's crazy how things can really work out. So another thing I want to jump into a little bit. People looking at your story, they see what you've done. They see you've got 60 homes your first 5 months, 180 the next year, and now you guys are at 400. And people are going to think that was just smooth sailing to where you are today. But I know, as well as you know, that nothing is easy in the entrepreneurial realm. So I'm just curious, like during the past decade or so that you've been doing this, have there been any moments where you've just been like, man, this is hard. I don't know if this is going to work out. I might go bankrupt. Any situations like that?
Never bankrupt or anything. The reason why is because, like you heard my story, in the beginning is I have it under contract
Yeah.
with the seller. If I don't find a tenant buyer or a person to pay me down payment and lease it from me right away,
Yeah.
I'll extend the contract or I'll cancel it.
Hmm.
I don't ever try and close until I have both together.
Gotcha.
That's whenever I'll start. Now I'll just buy them. Because now when you have extra cash, I need to dump it somewhere, and if I recoup it, good. If I don't, then I'll leave it into the asset, right?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, and looking back, I feel good how I did. There's one investor, I can't remember his name, but he says, I hope you have bad credit, I hope you have no money, and I hope you can't get any loans, because it'll force you to do seller financing, and not get too comfortable. Mm-hmm. Keeps you on the edge, right?
Right.
So it was not smooth.
Yeah.
I messed up a lot. On those 60 homes, I did some of the contracts incorrectly, and just luckily they ended up right or something. I did lease options incorrectly too. There was one deal. I don't know how specific you want me to get into,
sure,
but do you know what subject to is?
Not really.
Okay, let's just say that you buy a home for $200,000, and after 5-6 years you owe $180,000. Okay.
Yep.
And you want to sell me your home. And we checked the comps and everything, and it's only worth $210,000 if it's fixed up, but it needs $20,000 for repair. Whatever the case, you say, you know what? I owe $180,000. If you'll just take over the payment, Shane, you can have it. So you deed the property to my name or my LLC, but the mortgage stays in your name and I keep paying. That's subject to. Now, I don't really like subject to, by the way, but this is one case that I ran into one issue, and I thank God that He helped me out of it. Is I bought a property from a lady subject to her loan. Gotcha. And she moved. Okay, and I didn't have all my documents correctly. Number one, I didn't have her social security number and all this stuff. I didn't have any. So I'm just paying payments to the bank. Okay, but then it comes to pass, like, I don't know how much I owe. I don't know if it's paid off. And someone's wanting to buy this home. How am I going to pay it off? And it was at Wells Fargo. So I went to Wells Fargo and I said, hey, here's the loan number I need to pay off. And they said they could not without her social. And I didn't have that lady's phone number.
Wow.
And I was like, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, though, the person that was trying to buy the home ended up backing out or extending. I forget what it is, but they kind of pushed it to the side. And 2-3 months later, the seller calls me, luckily saying, it took me forever to find your home, Shane. Your number, Shane. But I wanted to call you and tell you I got this letter in the mail about some kind of refund too. So not only did she refund me the money from whatever reserves or whatever it was, like escrow reserves, but I said, well, can you please call the bank, put me on give them a loan authorization form, and make sure that if I reach out to them that we can cash out. And she did.
Wow.
But that could have been a sticky situation, because I didn't know. But that was because of a lack of knowledge. But I learned from that. So now anytime I do those kind of deals, if I do, I have all my documents in order. I've had some strange stuff with tenants before that were not lease options, duplexes, because you can't lease option those unless you do it to an investor. So it's 2 duplexes side by side. One tenant left and I didn't know it because the other tenant started paying their rent on their behalf. So I didn't know any different. Yeah. They cut a hole between the wall and took a wire from his electric box to the other to make both sides work.
Oh my goodness.
Then he left and he subleased it to other people.
Oh my god.
That's crazy, right? Then when we found out, they were making illegal moonshine in the backyard of those things. So it was a big headache, and that costed me money to fix, which I ended up selling it to another investor lease option. But still, it's just, that was pain. Or I guess it's mainly more stories of stress. Like we had a Hispanic lady. My wife's from Costa Rica. Awesome. But so they were always cooking some kind of amazing foods. That's what you always notice. But what this specific family did, they stole the stop sign at the end of the road, put it on top of the stove, and burned up my entire stove. And it burned up the stove because they're cooking tortillas on top of it,
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, well, what do I do in that situation, So I don't know.
That's a first.
Yeah, that might be aside from what you're asking. But there's just some funny story. We walked in and I don't know how to explain it better than this, but there's one guy that we went into his house. And I don't know how we can say this on the podcast. It was not kid toys. It was a toy just all over the wall.
Wow.
he had a bar in the middle of that he had installed. I don't know what that was for. A little bar that goes up. And not only that, did he have cameras pointing toward the center of this nice little bed in the middle of the room, and then his 2-year-old daughter's walking through it. It's just the wildest story that you can. Man. So you see a lot of strange things in real estate. So how do you?
Yeah.
I mean, he can do what he wants because he's a tenant, but it just,
Yeah.
It was. He also had like these fluff things in the ceiling that looked like lightning storms. It was wild.
Yeah, you're not lying. In real estate, you're going to find some interesting tenant
interesting stuff. And then how do you deal with it too? Because when he leaves, what am I going to do? I got to repair some of that stuff. So
right. Yeah. You're the one going in there as the owner.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't do anything perfect. Trust me, you'll learn as you go.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like you mentioned, you just got to put your foot into the game, and as you mentioned, you're going to learn as you go on, and you just got to take that first risk.
Absolutely.
And just learn as you grow. Mm-hmm. So I think that's super important. Another topic I want to touch on is you mentioned that mentorship is extremely important for you, especially how you got to where you are today, even for me in my journey. But one thing I want to touch on is your story with Grant Cardone. I think people would really enjoy to hear that. I know you had a conversation with Grant Cardone, and it worked out very well after that conversation. If you don't mind explaining what happened during that conversation and how important that was for that mentorship for you.
So again, it's because I didn't have a mentor. I would have started 5 years sooner. So, and as bad as it sounds, even once I got started and I started growing, I said, man, what made me start so late is because I didn't have a mentor. So last year in January, that's still how new. So I'm pretty slow on everything, by the way. So I was like, you being young, start now, right? But last year in January, I said, you know what? I need to change it this year. A good investor is always learning. And a good mentor will answer questions you didn't know you needed to ask. I'm sure you've learned that a lot from Peter. So much. Right? You didn't even think to ask that because you didn't know you needed to ask it, and he told you, right? So January last year, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to seek out mentors. And I had already exhausted where I was from, Rome, Georgia, there. And there's some good guys there too, but it's just, they're so busy. But I said, I'm going to find the people and do what I need to do to be in those rooms. And I put my money where my mouth is, And I hate the thought of paying for education. I hate it when someone mentioned mastermind to me. Now I love them. At that time, prior, I was like, they're just trying to get 30 grand out of me or 5 grand. Like, who do they think they are? But really now I understand. But at that time I didn't. So in January, I reached out to them and I said, I want to meet with Grant. How much will it cost? And they said, well, it's 100 grand for 4 hours. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. How much is Elena? Like in my mind, I was just trying to find that stuff out. No, but in the end, I said, you know what? Okay. So I sent the money over, paid the 100 grand, and I went to see him, and I was like, okay, I just spent 100 grand. I feel dumb. Oh, I hope this is good. But here's the thing. I've been to other conferences and I learn a little bit, but I never get direct access to the guy or to the speaker. And I said, this time I will. So when I got there with Grant, met with him, I had a bunch of questions, and I was just drilling them, and he's answering them, or if he didn't know the answer, one thing I admired about him is if he don't know the answer, he won't tell you he knows the answer. He would pick up the phone call. He called 11 times different people in that first hour. Wow. And then when I asked him about a certain refinancing situation I was in that I needed out, he goes, man, you got to do this. And he made a call, connected me to a guy named Michael Bazinski from Berkadia. So if you're listening, there's his shout out. But talked to him, long story short, they refinanced me on one of my loans. Amazing, okay? Because it made me $888,000, non-taxable, by the way, because it's debt. So from 1 hour with Grant, I made $888,000. That's incredible. Just crazy. And I'm very thankful. So after that went well, I said, man, I've got to lean into this mentorship stuff. Now I understand. Number one, to be honest, I probably could have called some of these people myself, but because I paid, it made sure I did it. Because I paid $100,000, I got to make the money back. If I would have called other people just randomly, I probably would have beat around the bush too. And Grant said, you got to learn to take action. You got to do it now. So I did that. After that, I met with Glenn Stearns on Undercover Billionaire. Wow. Great guy. I paid $100,000. I did the mentorship with Ty Lopez. Been really good for personal branding. And he knows I'm an introvert too, and he's trying to help me get out of it. So I'm trying to learn to do what you're doing, man. 200 episodes, that's crazy,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So I think mentorship is very key. They've helped push me 5 years quicker. Every time I think of something, they're saving me 5 years of pain, and struggling, probably making me more money.
Yeah. And connection, like you mentioned, they
Oh.
will absolutely transform your life, the direction of your life. And like you said, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, your next big idea is in someone else's brain. You just got to meet them.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
And really, you paid $100,000 to have Grant's contacts available to you.
Yes, and I still got 2 hours left because I saw him that time and one more time.
Got that in your back pocket.
And then I learned from Elena Cardone, and she told me, because I just got married. I don't have my ring on. I left it upstairs. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask her, how does she balance, her and Grant balance business and family? And she did an amazing job helping with that.
Yeah. I'm sure it gets tough when you get to that level, and there's just so much stuff going on. People want to get your time.
Well, I said you have to be obsessed to be successful, but how can you be obsessed with that and then have a wife, right? So you got to learn to be 100% present in each sector of your life. So business, 100%, wife, 100%, and then when I have kids, I got to give them their time. Yeah. Then I still got my mom and dad and brother and family and friends, and then I've got friends, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got to have my own time. So you got to learn how to be 100% present in each of those situations.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. And so back on that mentorship note for a little bit. Mm-hmm. People listening are saying, okay, I want to get a mentor, but I have no idea how to find a mentor. So from what you know in your past and what you've done, what is the best way for someone starting out to actually go out there and find a mentor?
Well, there's a couple ways. Number one, find the big players in the city that you're in. That's what I did first. So in my city, in Rome, Georgia, there was a guy named Larry Martin. He's 90-something years old, still doing deals, and he makes $1 million a month net, by the way. I believe he's the largest landowner in all southeastern states, funny enough. It's not always the most quality stuff, but he's got the most deeds, you know. Yeah. Another guy I went to was Robert Ledbetter in Rome, Georgia, and he builds like public shopping centers. I think his family used to own the Atlanta Hawks. Very good development family. So I sought them out. They're just so busy, and they still took time to eat lunch with me and talk to me, and they gave me great advice. So start there. Then go into conferences. You can go to free meetups. Me and you met at a free meetup, right?
We did.
Well, I think it's like $20, right? Or it's free or $20. Like you can go to any kind of meetups and meet people. Yeah. And then, of course, going to the bigger conferences. Sometime I would go to conferences. I didn't even go hear the speakers. I just stayed and networked with all the people. Yeah. And me as an introvert, I should have talked to 50 people, but I only talked to 5. But you know, you want to go and talk to as many people as you can. And then, of course, the third thing would be paying. You know, you can pay for mentorship. Yeah. I used to be against it, and not all of them are good, I'll be honest. So vet them well, but you got to just kind of pay to play is what Grant says. And I always thought that was the dumbest sales thing. I said, oh, pay to play, but it's true. It really is true. Yeah. And Peter's the master at networking. So whatever he's doing, I know he calls like 25 people a day or texts them. He does 100 lunches a month or something like that. Yeah. And he just knows how to nurture the relationships he already has. And then they'll always, introduce him to someone else. That's amazing, you know. Yeah.
The bottom line is find what works for you and go out there and try to find a mentor. Like you said, that'll
100%. 100%.
And so before we run out of time, just got a couple more questions for you. So one, obviously, you've done so much to get to where you are today, but looking forward for you next year, next couple of years, what are your goals and where do you see yourself and your company going in the next couple of years?
So, I started in single family, okay? Actually, everybody, whenever they start in real estate, whatever you do now, in 3 years, you're going to go up to the next level, right, with the current assets you have. So mine is I have 400 single family homes. So I've got to find a way to sell those and up it to the next thing, or do a really special refinance and then up it to the next one. Me, I want to transition out of single family. Yeah. I'm going to keep probably 100 of them or 80 of them, like some that are my favorites in certain areas. But some of them, I just want to sell them and then move it to shopping centers, multifamily, and hotels. That's awesome. What I really want to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I want to scale up to the next thing.
That's amazing. And my last question is, what is your number one book recommendation for people listening to this podcast? If you can think of one book that's helped you out, get you where you are.
What is that one by Carnegie? Influence. What is that? Do you know what I'm talking about? What's the name? Yeah, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I thought that was pretty good, and I think, and that's what Peter. Go come see Peter Pastor now. He is the master of it. So yeah, just because, and I guess I'm saying that because I see the importance of learning how to be an extrovert or get yourself out there. Because I'm an introvert, so I now understand that you got to be an extrovert. You got to get out of your comfort zone, meet people, learn, become friends. Because the next big opportunity is in someone else's mind. That's true.
That's gold right there. Yeah. All right, guys, there you have it. Shane Seo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Man, thank you, man. Appreciate it.